All right, so good afternoon, members, ladies and gentlemen. It is so good to see you this afternoon, Friday the 17th, when we're having the National Youth AMR webinar. Thank you for making time to join. It is exactly 4 p.m. and we wish to go ahead and get started. We wish to make time, because there are participants who are here pretty early. Allow me to just quickly go ahead and share the agenda for the day. We have a packed agenda, an agenda we hope that is full of learning. And so this is what we shall be looking at. This is what we shall be looking at this afternoon. So I think we were opening the webinar at 3:50 to let people in, settle in, and so on. And we are glad that we have people who came in pretty early. Then this is the agenda that we shall be working on. This afternoon, we will have some opening remarks from Dr. Tracy Moriah from React Africa. And then we'll have our Student One Health Innovation Club presidents welcoming us to this meeting and sharing their remarks as well. So we have Boaz from University of Nairobi, Faculty of Veterinary Medicine. We have Wendy. I don't know that she's joined from Moi University School of Public Health. And we have Niharika from the University of Nairobi, Faculty of Health Science. So if Wendy is not there, then we'll have Boaz and Niharika welcoming us. Then we'll just have some engagement a bit, get a feel on what we, get a feel on what we perceive regarding AMR. Then we'll have various presentations starting with Nahashon speaking on youth engagement for AMR. We'll get to know who these presenters are. Then we'll have, Dr. Kariuki talking about this pandemic that is killing silently and the need for all of us to act to combat AMR. Then, of course, we'll engage a bit, as the audience, as we invite Dr. John Mumbo to come in and share with us a presentation on AMR surveillance in the environment and the opportunities that are there for the youth to engage in that regard. Then, of course, a bit of engagement as we usher in Dr. Ramon Ndanyi to share, to give an overview of the role of animal health in AMR surveillance. And then we transition to the final presentation of the day, which will be done by Dr. Gitonga on the overview of antimicrobial stewardship in human health. And then we'll have Q&As, but we hope even as the presentations progress, we'll be having our questions in the chat, and then we will be wrapping up punctually at 6 p.m. So Ndege will be giving some comments and some way forward from around 5:55, wrapping up at 6 p.m. So this is the agenda. This is the agenda that we're looking at. And the housekeeping rules that we just want to share is one, we wish to kindly request if you could rename yourself so that then we can know who you are, the correct name, and probably the institution that you're coming from, if it's possible. If not, then you could probably just rename yourself so that then we do not have a participant indicated as iPhone, I don't know which is the latest iPhone now, but iPhone something, iPhone 14 Max or 13 Pro Max or something. So we'd wish to know your name. So kindly rename yourself. And then we wish to request that if you'd we would keep our mics muted unless you're speaking. If your bandwidth will allow, you can have your video on. If not, then that would be okay. If you have any questions for troubleshooting, kindly put them in the chat. Just give an indication in the chat, and the team will be able to try and respond to the troubleshooting. If you have a question, kindly put it in the chat, and the presenter will either, if time allows, respond to the question after the presentation or during the Q&A. And if time does not allow, then we'll still be able to have the presenters have the questions and answer them, and we share back the responses. So if you have a question, kindly put it in the chat. And at that point in time, if you would wish also to ask, you can also use the raise hand function. So let's kindly just look at those housekeeping rules so that then we would have some cordial engagements and some wonderful interactive sessions as we all learn together. So let's keep our mics muted unless you're speaking. If your bandwidth allows, we can have our videos on. For any questions, for any troubleshooting, kindly put it in the chat. Then let's also have our questions in the chat. We can also use the raise hand function during the Q&A session, and I think all questions will be addressed. Then that said, allow me then to take this opportunity to invite Dr. Tracy Moriah to make her welcoming remarks. The moderator for this session will be Dr. Gadai. I think Dr. Gadai is there. Yeah, Dr. Gadai will be moderating the session, and there is an entire team here that is ready to engage with us. Dr. Tracy, over to you for your remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's really good to see the house getting packed, and I know it's yet to get packed. Mine is a quick one. And what I really want to appreciate is that, you know, the continued engagement, continued commitment that we keep seeing at REACT through the young people. We don't take it for granted because you have many other things to do. It's a Friday, you'd be somewhere else. So thank you so much for the continued commitment. Mine is to wish you really fruitful engagement. The program, as you see it, is quite One Health oriented. Please take notes, learn from it. There's always something new. Even if you've had the topic before, there's always something new to learn. And why at REACT we keep and are consistently supporting our national team to engage the young people as well, is because we honestly and truly believe that it's important to nurture our future leaders at the right age, not when we are where we are, for example, as Tracy and team. Because if really we're to win this AMR agenda and slow down AMR, then we really need to engage the young people and the youth as we consider you valuable stakeholders in addressing this global health threat, which many people may call silent. But at times, I really wonder whether it's silent or maybe we should really be calling it faceless. Faceless because it is ravaging not only the human health sector, but across the One Health, and as a result, the global development issues. Meaning it's not silent, it is just probably not seen as it should be. And since you're the next generation of public health professionals, potential future antimicrobial prescribers, in your capacity, you are users and stewards, and hopefully even go on to the policy making scene. Just across the One Health spectrum, we could not re-emphasize your importance as a stakeholder. So with those few remarks, and on behalf of our director, Dr. Nafin Pundu, I want to congratulate the national team for bringing this stakeholder group together, and I wish you fruitful discussions. Thank you, and over. Back to you, Sam.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Tracy, for the wonderful opening remarks. I'm looking for the reaction button. Oh, there it is. To just give that virtual clap. So, members, I think we can appreciate Dr. Tracy for that, and you know, for having REACT supporting all through. REACT has been one of the great partners in Africa, so to speak, and so we truly appreciate having this opportunity to engage with them moving forward. Thank you so much, Dr. Tracy. And with 1 minute to spare, I wish to now, you know, humbly invite our Student One Health Innovation Club presidents to share with us their thoughts as they welcome us to this particular forum. So we have Boaz from the University of Nairobi, Faculty of Veterinary Medicine. We have Wendy from the School of Public Health, Moi University, and we have Niharika from the University of Nairobi Faculty of Health Science. So Boaz, allow me to invite you to say a few words, and welcome members to the webinar. Boaz, are you there?
Yes, thank you so much for this moment you've given me. And ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members and of our diversity and our dynamic community, it's my honor to have this introductory note to introduce myself. My name is Boaz Kemoi Siwanyang, and I'm a fifth-year student taking a course in Bachelor of Veterinary Medicine, and I serve as the One Health Student One Health Innovation Club under Faculty of Veterinary Medicine. So as we do this introductory note, as we usher in the antimicrobial resistance, as the president of Nairobi University, I call all of us to collectively renew our commitment to tackling antimicrobial resistance and chart a course, have a conversation towards a future where collaborations, awareness, and transformation action prevails. So it's our pleasure and honor to dwell into this, to get some insights, to get a platform where we can play a role, where we can contribute towards making the future better. So thank you so much, Dr. Sam. And at this particular time, I welcome each and every one of us. I know there are some students joining from Makerere University, University of Rwanda, University of Burundi, and Unidori University in Nigeria, and also among our local universities over here. I welcome each and every one of you. Feel at home and feel free to contribute. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a meaningful discussion out of this one as we usher in the antimicrobial resistance. So thank you so much, Dr. Sam. Back to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Boaz. And a round of applause to you as well. Thank you for those comments and the call to action to actually engage in this fight against AMR. So I can't see Wendy. I don't know whether Wendy is in the meeting. So let me just quickly then move on to Niharika for her to make her remarks. Then we also have other presidents. I know we have Mwihaki from Egerton University. We have Isaac from Masai Mara University. And so I will call on Niharika now to welcome us as well to this meeting and make her remarks as well. Then we will move on to Mwihaki from Egerton and then Isaac from Masai Mara. Niharika. And if you're able to have your video on, the better. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Hi, everyone. My name is Niharika Mukherjee. I am a final year medical student at University of Nairobi. And I am the president for the 2022-2023 Stoic FHS. Ooh, so sorry for the background noise. I hope you're able to hear me. So I just wanted to welcome everybody who's here. From the side of my club, I just want to say that my entire team has been very, very hard at work to bring the youth, especially the youth in healthcare, because I am from a healthcare background, to bring everybody together for this week that seems to have picked up importance in the very recent years. In fact, in my own experience in medical school, it sort of gained traction maybe 2-3 years ago within the student community. So we're trying our very best to engage the younger students as well as bring in the postgraduates into this, because we just want that connection from like when you get into healthcare all the way till when you now start taking care of patients. So we're doing a lot of things. We're working in collaboration with a lot of organizations. For myself, I can tell you like a lot of the academic or professional communities, like the pharmacy and medicine associations are on board with us for this year, as well as last year they were with us. So from my end, I think we're making a lot of progress with the support of organizations like AFROHUN and everyone else who is here to support this cause today. And I really hope as we move forward, we get more and more support in more ways than one. Yeah, and it's really good to see that we're being given a platform to share our progress as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Niharika, for the wonderful remarks. for welcoming us. Good to hear all the great work that you're doing in the club. I seem or appear to be the only one giving the virtual clap. Thank you, Ndege, for joining me. So guys, let us keep the encouragements coming as we look forward to having some interactive sessions. So we've heard from the AFROHUN Kenya SOHIC presidents from the University of Nairobi, Faculty of Veterinary Medicine and Faculty of Health Science. We are now looking at having Mwihaki. I don't know whether Mwihaki is there from the SOHIC at Egerton. Mwihaki, you want to say hi? You can have your video on if possible.
Okay. Hello everyone. I'm Mwihaki Mungai, the president for Egerton University, representing the One Health Club. And I'm really happy to join you guys today and seeing a lot of people, a lot of youth coming up to fight against antimicrobial resistance. And we're really happy for this platform and the opportunity to learn more, because you know, like you told, like we are the future leaders, so we are the people who are going to start this fight against antimicrobial resistance, and hopefully we can achieve it. Thank you so much, Sam, for the opportunity, and you're all welcome. Hope you pay close attention. You get to learn, you get to network. Yeah, thank you. And welcome, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Mwihaki, for giving us that warm welcome to this Youth AMR Forum. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Boaz. And oh, wonderful. Great. The applause is coming in. So we have, I think I saw Isaac. Isaac, are you there? Okay. There's Isaac. Isaac is our SOHIC president from Masai Mara University. I can't seem to find him now again. We also had Boniface from Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University. I don't know whether he's there. I can't see him. Okay, so, and Wendy from Moi University as well. I don't see her. Great. But we've gotten good representation from Boaz, Niharika, and Mwihaki, the presidents, welcoming us officially, joining hands with Dr. Tracy from REACT to welcome us to this particular session. So I think, members, ladies and gentlemen, we are in good hands to kickstart our presentations for the day. So again, for those who are joining in, welcome. Thank you for making time to join us today. The agenda that we are looking at, allow me to just share our screen. This is the agenda that we are looking at today for this particular session. So we got our opening remarks. We started at 4 p.m. on the dot. We had our opening remarks from Dr. Tracy from REACT. We've gotten our remarks and, you know, comments from our SOHIC presidents. And so we want to move on to the next presentation. We will alter this program a bit. So we want to hear from Nahashon Gishero, who's the quadripartite working group on youth engagement for AMR. So I want to put up his presentation, and even as I do so, allow me to just quickly share who Nahashon is. So Nahashon is a public health specialist implementing health programs in Kenya with governmental and non-governmental organizations. He is a member of the quadripartite working group on youth engagement for antimicrobial resistance. He is the Nyeri County Antimicrobial Stewardship Interagency Committee. He's a member of the Nyeri County Antimicrobial Stewardship Interagency Committee, that's the CASIC, and the head of training, civic education, and outreaches in the Youth Empowerment and Development Foundation. Man, Nahashon, man, this is a mouthful, but let me continue. Where he oversees planning, coordination, and implementation of training and outreach activities to spur projects implementation. Nahashon is a youth, very important, guys. So let's get to tap from him. Nahashon is a youth and a passionate advocate for the One Health approach in addressing evolving health challenges such as AMR, starting from his active participation in the Moi University Students One Health Club. So he was a part of the AFROHUN Kenya Student One Health Innovation Clubs, and we are happy that he's coming back to, you know, he's coming to give back and pay forward, so to speak. And his message to all is this: there is no shortcut For humanity to enjoy good health and thrive, they must commit to protecting the health of animals and the environment. Again, Nahashon's message is this to everyone here: there is no shortcut. For humanity to enjoy good health and thrive, they must commit to protecting the health of animals and the environment. So in that regard, allow me to just welcome Nahashon to go ahead and speak to his presentation, which I am pulling up just now. Nahashon, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sam, for that very nice introduction. I'm actually out of words, but I also want to welcome all of us who are here today. This is a very important session, especially for us who are youths, because this is a matter that touches to our daily lives, our day-to-day activities, and even our future. Because if we do not protect the antimicrobials that we have today, our ability to enjoy what the world has to offer will be in jeopardy. Because even a very simple injury can be fatal or catastrophic, altering the directions of our lives. So I'll just go direct to the presentation. So I'll be working, I'll be spearheading a discussion on youth engagement for AMR. And as Dr. Sam has stated, those are the places that I'm engaged in. And I'm going to talk about them further as we continue. So let's move forward. Okay, so in brief, this one is just for the sake of those of us who have joined, maybe who are not aware of what AMR is. I know my fellow speakers are going to touch on this. They are going to talk about it, but let me just introduce. So I'm going to start by dissecting antimicrobial resistance. And in the antimicrobial, there is the microbes, which we are talking about, which are the bacteria, the viruses, the fungi, the parasites, and which we know most of the bacteria are usually good and they are important in our bodies, in the environment. But some of us cause diseases. Some of them cause diseases in humans, animals, and plants. And then the antimicrobials, these are the medicines now, which are the antibiotics, antivirals, antifungal, and parasitics that are used to treat the infectious diseases that are caused by these microbes. And now the resistance, that is the antimicrobial resistance, which we shorten to AMR, refers to the phenomenon when the microbes change over time and they no longer respond to the medicines, making infections hard to treat and increasing the risk for disease spread. The diseases become severe and may also lead to death. And now, because of this and the importance of AMR, WHO declared AMR as one of the top global public health threats. This was done in 2019. It was among other health challenges such as fragile and vulnerable settings that may be reached because of war and something like that, the pandemics, like the global influenza pandemic, the NCDs, the Ebola and other high threat pathogens. AMR was classified as one of those. And just going on, AMR, how it occurs, just like any other living things, there is the natural evolution process where through mutations and sharing genes that confer resistance, this process is slow and gradual. So even if we are not overusing and misusing the antimicrobials, as I have stated them, the process of resistance development will still continue, but it will be very slow and gradual. But now our misuse and overuse of these antimicrobial medicines that we have provided, both in humans and animals, they speed up now this resistance. And the speed is at a higher level than the way we are able to come up with new version or new new types of these antibiotics, antifungals, and all the rest. And now the environment, through environmental pollution at the natural selection process, where we usually say survival for the fittest, but now in this case we say survival for the most resistant. So the resistant microbes are able to live, multiply in the environment, and they outcompete the microbes that do not have resistance. So at the end of it all, it is the most resistance to the many versions of drugs that we have used or misused that are going to prevail, and they are going to continue causing the infections to humans, to animals. So that's where the environment dimension is very, very important in this when we are talking about AMR. And now in this AMR response, that maybe in a small view, we have seen what is it. Why are we focusing on the response on youths? This one thing, we know that youths, they are passionate. They also are able to work in so many dimensions. And when they get a hook on something, giving an example of something like the climate action, when they're able to get that hook, they are able to drive the agenda and amplify the message, creating attention of different sectors in the society, such as the policymakers, be it in the government, the national, the local, the international organization, all those people who are in these spaces that are responsible of providing the way. The youth are able to draw the attention and also the attention of the whole world and the community to it. Because if you can picture, every youth has come from a family somewhere. So there is that network. A youth can be able to reach to so many people. A youth has access to a wide range of information, be it in the social media, be it in schools, and they are also able to understand some of the intricate concepts that we have, and they can be able to interpret those terms and terminologies to the member of the communities, the members in the communities back at home and back in the society. And students and the youth movements, they are concerned with a wide range of development and evolving issues that, like we have said. And AMR is just one of those things that are evolving, because we know a growing and a thriving society, for the economic development of a country, health has to be at the center of it all. Then youth organization, they have the experience of mobilizing people. Taking an example of, like, when we were setting up this webinar, we reached to the youth leaders in different organizations in schools who are reading these One Health societies and other health organizations, and they were able to mobilize the members to come. And they are able to harness the imagination and the energy of youth. And that's why we are calling upon all the youth to come and be innovative, to provide ways of how we are able to amplify and dissect this AMR, because as it appears, people see AMR as such a very complex agenda when we talk about antimicrobial resistance, and they draw and they churn away from it. And they think now it is only the role of the healthcare providers or those people who are in the health field to deal and to respond to it. But now, what we are doing going forward, we are trying to reach to the very people who are the users of these antimicrobials, those people who are taking care of the environment, so that they can understand that they all have a role to play. And who are the best people to do this? It's us, the youths, who have the energy, who have the vision, because we are also protecting our future. Because as I alluded to, as I noted when we were starting, AMR will hamper the experience that we can have as we explore this world. As simple accidents. Taking an example, you are someone who likes riding bicycles or doing any other extracurricular activity. A simple injury that can result to an infection that can either lead to deformity or can also be fatal. And moving on, what is the role of going to talk about the roles of the youths in the AMR response. And the number one is to start as an individual responsibility. You lead by example. Once you understand what is AMR, you are able to, you drive this agenda. Then when you are at home, you are, from time to time we get sick. Let's make sure we use antimicrobials prudently. Let's promote the prevention initiatives drawn from the animal health, the human health, the agriculture, and also the food preparation practices that are sanitary in nature. We also make sure we get updated with our vaccinations. We implement infection prevention and control measures, specifically actually for those of us who are working in the hospital settings. We have to make this as our responsibility. Also ensure that there is environmental sanitation. There are also some of us who are caregivers and care providers at home. Let us not continue propagating this behavior of sharing medication, especially the antimicrobials. When you are given a dose, make sure you finish the dose. And it is these small things, like Professor Wagari Madai would say, using the hummingbird analogy, that the small things that we do in our individual spaces that are going to change and to create the change that we want, even as we continue the AMR response. Then we also have to educate ourselves, because we do not want to be caught up with the misinformation that comes up when we move to the media spaces. We also want to position ourselves, because it's out of learning what is going on that we are able to identify a niche in this response, that you can be able to harness your abilities, you can be able to harness your passion, you can be able to harness your talents to drive this agenda, to avoid misinforming others and falling for the myths that come up. Like we saw in the COVID-19 era, we have to be armed with the right information, the facts. And where can we get these facts? We have so many places. We have websites like for the quadripartite. And when I talk about the quadripartite, I'm talking about the World Health Organization, the United Nations Environmental Program, the World Organization of Animal Health, and also the Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations. You'll find a lot of information on AMR. There is also other websites like in the national government, the Ministry of Health. We have REACT here, we have AFROHUN, we have USAID MTAPs, we have CDC, Africa CDC. Let's go to this website where we are going to equip ourselves with this information. Then we have to move the national and the global AMR agenda. Assume the AMR ambassadorial role, contributing to advocacy, supporting research, because we are learning. When we are in school, we have to come up with different projects. So we are equipped with the research skills right from the early age. And I would like to encourage all of us to take up this initiative of coming up with very vibrant research topics touching the AMR spectrum. Then we participate in decision-making and complement communication on AMR, because this is very important for us, because we are going to reach even to those people who do not have this message here. And also, as I continue, we also raise the awareness on AMR, what drives and what are the causes of AMR, what are the impacts. There are so many of them, and its solutions, because we know what we can do to reverse this trend, to slow down the process of resistance of the microbes to the antimicrobials that we have. We have to use the opportunity to share the real life stories and personal experiences to simplify and explain the importance and urgency of AMR. Because as one of our speakers who was introducing our webinar today said, we started by saying that AMR is a silent pandemic, but right now it has raised its voice, it's shouting in the corridors of hospitals. And what is happening, people we are losing people to diseases, but maybe the carers or the doctors, the clinicians, the nurses who are giving this treatment, they know that this person maybe lost their life because we didn't have viable medicine, because they had a resistant strain of a certain antimicrobe, of a certain microbe. So there are these stories that we are going to use to tell, to share to people. And that's why we in our lineup, we have someone who is also going to amplify this message. We also encourage the youth to participate and contribute to AMR, that is World Antimicrobial Resistance Awareness Week campaigns. We hope that your inclusion is going to increase the visibility and to amplify the message. And this one goes beyond, 2023 and the others to come. Use the opportunities that you have in the society to talk about AMR to different people. Participate in webinars like this one that we have, because we are going to have so many other webinars in different places. We are going to share with our networks and also the organizations that are represented here in. Youth engagement is, yes?
Nash, you may need to wrap up
Okay.
the next 2 or 3.
Youth engagement enables the achievement of AMR policies objectives. We have the gap for AMR, the global action plan for AMR. We have an objective on improving awareness, which, as I have shown, they transcend to the national action plan for AMR. They also transit to the classic work plans that we have, and I have just given a number of the objectives as an example from the Nyeri classic, which we are going to launch on 23rd. So youth engagement for AMR in the national and global spaces, this is happening. We have youth-led and youth-serving organizations which are working on AMR, like the One Health student organization in institutions. In the government, we have inclusion of youth-led and youth-serving organizations in technical working groups, in antimicrobial committees, in AMR activities, planning and implementation committees. And at the global level, we have the quadripartite working group on youth engagement for AMR, which was established under the quadripartite organizations to guide youth engagement and to amplify the voices and the experiences of young people. So this is just a show that even at the high level, the importance of having youths in the AMR response, it's very paramount at, to making sure that we are successful. And the working group's initial priority areas has to be increase the visibility of youth engagement on global AMR action, to sensitize and invest in AMR awareness and activities, and to build up capacity among youth constituencies, and also to actively reach out and connect with more young people. So this is just a photo of the members of the working group. We are going to be hearing more about the working group and what the working group will be doing in prioritizing and in increasing the youth engagement for AMR. And in this, at this juncture, I want to invite us to this upcoming Global Youth Dialogue event webinar that is going to be shared by the Prime Minister Mia Amomotri of Barbados. It will be on 21st. I'll be sharing this link to on our chat boxes. So Her Excellency Mia Amomotri is the chair of the Global Leaders Group on AMR. So as I wind up, I want to call us all to action to be antimicrobial stewards, to promote environmental health, and also to prevent antimicrobial resistance together. I call us all to share the AMR message. So thank you very much.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Let me see where this reaction button is. There you go. Thank you, Hikelis Bwire. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Thank you, Dr. Gitonga. Thank you, Boaz. Amazing, wonderful presentation, Nashon. Thank you for giving us that call to action. and even sharing, some of the next steps that we are looking at. Truly amazing. Members, ladies and gentlemen, remember, if there are any questions, kindly put them in the chat. Dr. Gadai is the moderator of this session, and he'll be able to take us through. So if you have any question that would be related to the presentation that Nahashon has made, please put it in the chat. As we now transition to this word cloud, in one word, describe what youths can do in combating AMR. We want to do this in the next 1 minute. Let's see what will be coming up. I don't know if Ndege, have you put the link to the Mentimeter in the chat? Oh yeah, there it is. You can use the code. You can go to menti.com and use code 43909850 to put in your answer. And you can also have let me see, where's the link? Let me copy the link, and you can go to Menti using this link, and let's see what we come up with. So go to menti.com and use the code indicated there at the top, 43909850. I've also put the link in the chat, menti.com, and then use the same code, and kindly just give one word response. What can youths do to combat AMR? What can youths do to combat AMR in one word? As I invite Dr. Gadai to take over the moderation of the session, where we will be having, is it Dr. John Karaoke? Yes, I think it, yeah, there we have some answers coming in. Wonderful, great. Let's keep them going. What can youth do to combat AMR? Thank you so much. We have 17 responses so far. We are over 60. So we are a third way through. If we get some 50-60%, that would be amazing. A response representing 50-60%. Awesome. So we have 22 responses. Research is coming up as one of the huge things that youth can do. Research is still coming up. We have awareness, we have advocacy. Collaboration is also there. Great, we have 28 responses. We are almost halfway through. Let's get some additional responses. 29, so we have research. Awesome, awareness, collaboration. Wonderful, we have some 38 responses coming in. Great, if we're able to get to some 40 responses, I'm calling in for some 2 more people to just add in something and give us those responses. As I pull up Dr. Wonderful, we have 40 responses. Dr. Gadai, allow me to invite you to give a comment. Ndege, give a comment on that as I invite Dr. Gadai to take over the moderation, as I pull up Dr. Karaoke's presentation, and Dr. Gadai will tell us who Dr. Karaoke is. Over to you, Dr. Gadai.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tom. Thank you for the wonderful work you've done before I started. So I hope you can hear me well before I proceed.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So let me invite Dr. John Karaoke, AMR survivor, and from the Directorate of the Veterinary Services. So this session, we'll be looking at the pandemic killing silently, the need for all to act to combat AMR. Let me tell you something short about Dr. John Karaoke. So Dr. John Karaoke is an experienced veterinary surgeon. He's a father of 3, and I hope he's teaching the 3 to be AMR champions. I hope, okay, sorry for that. I hope he's teaching the 3 to become AMR champions. He was born, schooled, and worked in Nairobi. He's currently working at the State Department of Livestock in the Directorate of Veterinary Services. He holds a master's degree in veterinary public health in the area of AMR, which is very wonderful. His work began in 2015. He's also an AMR survivor. after undergoing a right hip replacement surgery in November 2020. As a result, he now lives without the hip joint and is now officially a PWD. So welcome, Dr. John Kariuki, and let's all reason. And just to show that you are welcoming Dr. John Kariuki, I want to see an emoji reaction. I want the thumbs up. Let's show that you are welcoming Dr. John Kariuki. Welcome, Dr.
Yes, hello everyone.
We can hear you. Go ahead, Dr. Kariuki.
Thanks very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I realize I was supposed to start at 4:40. I'm starting at 4:45. So I'll try to be very quick on my slides. I think there are 13 of them. I should take less than a minute in each one of them. And I thank the forum for realizing the need to have a survivor give his experience, hoping that this will magnify the message that what we are dealing with is a killer. So thank you very much for having me, and let's go on. The war against superbugs is what we are looking at. This is the silent killer we've been talking about. I think this has raised enough attention, not enough attention, but enough reason to bring into attention the purpose to bring the war against superbugs. Superbugs are the other name we give to microbes that are able to resist the effects of a drug that were previously very sensitive to. Next slide, please. So in defining AMR, there are several ways of defining it, but this, as somebody mentioned earlier on, is a phenomena where microbes become insensitive to the effects of drugs they were previously sensitive to. And this has become a real global threat to public health. And some of the drivers of this phenomena are the abuse, overuse, and misuse of antibiotics. And we have reports that we have a mortality rate of 2.5 million per year currently. And this is envisaged to rise to about 10 million by 2050 if nothing really drastic and effective is done. I think when they say, when the statistics talk about 10 million, simply remember it probably means 8 million within the sub-Saharan Africa. So remember, you are a target of AMR wherever you are. And this kind of phenomena threatens to take us to pre-antibiotic historic era, where people could die of minor infections. And this would retard the major progress that has been done in especially management of surgeries, major surgeries, and chemotherapy, etc. Next slide, please. Yeah, so as we are saying, everybody is vulnerable, all the animals, human beings, regardless of race, regardless of color, regardless of age, all our animals, they are vulnerable to this silent pandemic. And so there's no exception, no matter who you are, whether you are a president, whether you're an AMR champion, or whether you're an AMR survivor, you are vulnerable. Next slide, please. So by giving you my AMR story, this is probably going to resonate again and again, so that probably the impact can be felt. So I had my accident on 6th of October. I have highlighted the most important, what I thought were the most important dates in my AMR experience. So I had on the 6th of October 2020, an accidental slip and fall, which was excruciatingly painful. And this was in the evening, so I had to spend the night in pain and use painkillers, and then this was followed by me visiting the hospital about 2 days later. And there was a problem of misdiagnosis because the radiographer could not read properly the x-rays, and he actually ruled out the possibility of a fracture. And he went ahead to prescribe muscle relaxants and painkillers and send me back home. So after some days, the pain persisted, and so I decided to do a CT scan, computerized tomography scan. Next slide, please. So it is when I did the CT scan that it elucidated clearly what was going on. The pelvic, what could be seen in the pelvis was the femoral head stuck inside the pelvic joint and completely separated from the femur, which means there was complete fracture of the femur from its head. So I had to undergo surgery on 18th of November. You can see from 6th of October to 18th of November, while we are wondering what to do or try to confirm whether there is a real fracture or not, and booking for surgery, etc. So 18th of December is when I went through the theater. Next slide. And after going through surgery, I never recuperated, because immediately after surgery, I had 1 week of rest at home. Then I went back to hospital for dressing, but the surgical site was swollen and it had begun discharging. And a few days later, I had to be hospitalized again in ICU with severe septicemia. Severe septicemia is infection going from surgical site infection into the blood system. And I remember I had to be admitted into ICU because it brought in complications of high blood sugar, and I almost went into a coma. And from then on, I never recovered. And I went on to attend 5 hospitals. At the same time, I consulted over 5 orthopedic surgeons. 6 physicians were involved in all this, and over 10 healthcare workers. And I underwent through 11 pints of blood transfusion while I was in hospital. Next slide. So we are talking about a duration of between 18th of November to 6th of May. And that's when I was released from hospital after undergoing 2 surgeries. One surgery was to try and attempt to do the internal coaptation. And the second surgery in February was to remove the same internal coaptations and try and control the heavy infection that was going on. And by this time, I had already toyed around with the idea that I was dealing with the antimicrobial resistance. So I was released from hospital on the 6th of May. I was quite debilitated on a wheelchair. You can imagine I had taken myself to hospital, but I was leaving hospital on a wheelchair now. And I was still very unwell, but I could not stay for any longer in hospital. So I had to go and recuperate at home. And at home, I had to go home with a nurse, a full-time nurse, who was sleeping on my bedside in the same room with me and assisting me in everything that I needed to be done, including bed bath. All this time, I could not turn. I had to be turned in bed. So most of the time, I was lying on my back. It meant I was vulnerable to decubital wounds, what we call decubital wounds. And so I had to invest in a special electric mattress, which is called a Repo mattress, so that I don't develop decubital wounds. And around June, July, I had contracted a physiotherapist to come and try and get me out of the problem. Next slide, please. So as I was learning to walk between June, July, on 4th of August, I decided to do a culture and sensitivity testing. All the while, I had been going through handling by a wound specialist who used to visit me twice a week. And all he did was to clean the wound using antiseptics. And so I gave him a break after 5 weeks. And on 4th of August, I engaged a laboratory to do antimicrobial sensitivity testing. And the results that came out around the 4th of August was that out of 18 antimicrobials tested, only one was working. And this one that was working was amikacin. And all the while, I had used most of those 18 antibiotics, including first generation cephalosporins, clavulinated amoxicillins, gentamicins of this world, and many others. So at this time, my wound dressing after administration of amikacin reduced from 4 times a day. I used to dress a wound 4 times a day because of the rate at which it was discharging. And this rate went down from 4 to twice a day. And then we started dressing it once a day by the end of September. Next slide, please. So by the end of September, when we started dressing it once a day, 3 weeks later, the wound seemed to dry. And so I decided to do another culture and sensitivity testing. And that test result came out around the 4th of November, now in 2021, during which it was negative. The wound had become sterile. I had become free of infection, and I continued doing my physiotherapy. And I was able even to participate in the 2021 World Scientific Symposium, where I gave, for the first time, my story to the public. Next slide, please. So, yeah, I'm going to delve a little bit on the health, the social, and pecuniary aspects of the impact. Next slide, please. Yes, socially, you can see now I'm a person living with disability. I used to be able to attend to social gatherings freely. I would be able to go for swimming galas. I would be able to go for other sports events. So my mobility has now been impaired. I have to, where I used to participate actively in social activities, now I can largely just watch. And that AMR issue really affected my health. I had to undergo a severe immunological suppression. And actually, at one point, I was a victim of COVID-19. But thank God I was able to respond to COVID-19 therapy. And I remember at one time, one of the lobes of my left lung was almost collapsing. And I was able to resuscitate it by inhalation of oxygen, wearing oxygen mask. Now, thank God, after going through all the physiotherapy, I graduated from using a walker. Then I used double armpit crutches. Then I continued, graduated to a single crutch. And these days, I'm able to walk short distances without the crutch. I'm also able to drive, but I am really cognizant of the health effects that became of me because I now live without the right hip joint. And I'm very, very hesitant to have any other invasive surgery on myself until I'm convinced that we have novel methods of therapy and that we have overcome this war on AMR, because many people have died of AMR and long before they realized what it was, because it was a silent killer. Now we are the ones who survived the pandemic, and we can now sell the word and spread it During my hospitalization, I paid a hospital bill of around 30,000 US dollars, and I spent another 10,000 US dollars on hospital, on home care, employment of a full-time nurse, employment of a physiotherapist, purchase of medication and dietary supplements, and all the other associated costs. As you can see, my story starts in October of 2020, and the healing actually occurred fully in November of 2021. That's a whole year being mostly bedridden. Next slide, please. So if you look at those developments that took place at that time, we thank God that there are global initiatives like the Global Action Plan on Antimicrobial Resistance, which was started in 2015 and spearheaded by the quadripartite, the tripartite at that time. And it was joined in 2022 by UNEP to make it the quadripartite. It has been very instrumental in driving the agenda for combatement and discouragement of AMR. In Kenya, we have developed the National Action Plan with six strategic strategies to try and combat AMR. And we hope that these strategies are going to work. And I think we are now in the second phase of implementation of that of the National Action Plan. You're all averse to the fact that we have our WOW week beginning next week on Monday, where we'll have the launch in Nairobi and associated activities in the CASIX. So I think we are really battling on this one. I'm glad to hear GADP is also working very hard on new antibiotics that need to be found. And they have good news for us, especially for the very resistant Neisseria gonorrhea. And I hope that we'll be able to succeed in finding more antibiotics to combat this. Next slide, please. So as we look at that, yes, just 1 minute now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the main research areas, as you can see, will be antibodies and small molecules. The illustration you can see on your right, and then we have bacteriophages. These are viruses that use bacteria for their food, consume them, and they're harmless to humans. And the third one is vaccines. This list is not exhaustive. There are many others that can be done. Next slide, please. So vaccines are very important for prevention of development of disease, therefore discourage antimicrobial resistant development. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. John Kariuki. So let's all appreciate Dr. John for sharing with us his AMR survival journey using Dr. Sam's favorite emoji. Let's all do this. And thank you very much for the courage to share with us the word and to actually show us first-hand experience of AMR. So let's all spread the word. And I want to see the emojis coming. I'll give Dr. Cynthia 1 second to say something. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Gadai, Dr. Gadai. So this is just a quick recognition. We'd like to recognize the presence of Dr. Linus Ndegwa. Dr. Linus Ndegwa is working with the CDC, and he has been supporting AMR and IPC activities all over the country. So we are so happy to have you here on the call. We also want to recognize Dr. Oscar Agoro, who is the Nyeri County AMR focal person. Nyeri County is one of the counties who launched their first CASIC work plan before any other county. Thank you, Dr. Oscar, for getting time to join into this meeting. I would also like to recognize Dr. Victor Yamo from World Animal Protection. Within that short period of time, I know he was in another meeting today, but he still made it for this meeting. Thank you for joining in, Dr. Yamo. They mostly create awareness on AMR and also support the animal health sector as well. Stephanie Wangari is also here right now. She's Stephanie Adamba. She's from the Ministry of Mining, Blue Economy, and Maritime Affairs. Thank you, Stephanie, for joining into the meeting today. Lois Kihungi, who is currently the consultant, CDC, IPC consultant at CDC. Dr. Lois has been working a lot on IPC, infection prevention control, and how we can coordinate AMR and IPC together. Thank you, Lois, for joining in. And two more, there's James Kimani from Nyeri. He's the environment focal person. Thank you, James, for joining in. And lastly, there's Felista Kibarenge. Felista Kibarenge is currently working at the Division of Patients and Healthcare Workers Safety at the Ministry of Health. So this division is the division that holds the AMR program, IPC program, and patient safety program. Thank you, Ms. Felista, for getting time to join into our today's meeting. And everyone, thank you very much for joining in. Those are some of the few people that really we could not go minus mentioning their name here. And I know we can appreciate them with just a quick clap as we launch into the next transition poll. Back to you, Dr. Gadai.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cynthia. So let's transition. Let's have a transition poll. We are getting it loaded right now. Yeah, so here we have our poll. Let me just a minute. Kindly launch the poll.
The poll is on. I've already launched it.
Yeah, I can see
I
it.
don't know if you can see my side. Yeah, can fill in, then I'll share the results at least after people have started keying in. So Gadai, you can go on and go with the bio for Dr. Mumbo as we respond into the poll. Thank you.
All right, so members, ladies and gentlemen, even as Dr. Gadai is pulling up Dr. Mumbo's bio so that we know who is coming to speak to us, kindly key in, look at the poll, get the correct answer, and let's see what comes up so that the speaker can also know and get to have. Oh, wait, we don't have the poll. So Cynthia, apparently the poll is not launched yet.
Okay, let me relaunch it again because
Okay.
I see here. Continue. Can you see it now?
Yes, I think it's there.
Kind of, it's timed. Yeah, so the faster we do, the better.
All right, great. So let's key in what our thoughts are. And then Cynthia, in a minute, Cynthia will share the responses. Dr. Gadai, go ahead and share with us who our next speaker is.
Okay, thank you very much. Kindly fill in the poll. So we'll have our next speaker, who is Dr. John Mumbo. Dr. John Mumbo will be speaking about AMR surveillance in the environment, the opportunities for the youth. So you should know that the environment is part of the One Health, and we should always guard it so that we do a complete task in eliminating or in mitigating AMR. So Dr. John Mumbo is the national focal point, Ministry of Environment, Climate, and Forestry. I want us to also welcome Dr. John Mumbo with the thumbs up emoji. I hope you'll all do this. Dr. John Mumbo, you are welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. Nice to hear from you. And I don't know whether I'm the one who is presenting and I can also see a poll which is still running.
Oh, sorry, Cynthia, you can stop the poll and you can.
Am I projecting because I proceed?
Sorry, are you people able to see the results from the poll?
Yeah, it is still just a moment. I'm moving. Okay, let me proceed. going to make the presentation on AMR surveillance in the environment. We are looking at here the opportunities for the youth. The poll is still running. I don't know whether it is that showing on other screens. Yeah, then I'll wait for the poll. Let me wait for the poll to finish.
I've ended the poll from my side.
Is it still running? I think it stopped.
Yeah, I've ended it from my side, so I don't know if it's still running on your side. Is it still on?
Okay, then let me proceed.
Yeah, it wasn't from my side. I think it was your screen, Doc. Okay.
Okay, I'm trying to maximize. I don't know. Okay, let me proceed, but unfortunately the screen will be tiny. My presentation is that's the summary. I'm going to have an introduction, and then I'll talk about the problem we're having in One Health with respect to environmental management. We'll also look at One Health in the context of environmental surveillance. I'll give an example using biocides, and then how the resistance builds up. We'll also look at the action that we need to do. I'll also just give us some insight and perspectives on AMR surveillance and the governance structure of AMR in Kenya. So I don't want to spend much on, I think we already know that AMR occurs when microorganisms such as bacteria, viruses, bacteria or fungi become resistant to antimicrobial treatment to which they were previously susceptible to. Just for the sake of time, let me proceed. Of course, this calls now for management response. And the reason why we are coming here and looking at environmental surveillance is because our environment plays a key role in the development, transmission, and the spread of the AMR. I would want you to really understand that the role of the environment here is basically on the environment. We also look at the transmission and the spread of AMR. And we are looking at One Health approach, whereby we are recognizing the importance of coming together in the context of human, animal, plant, and environmental health. So we are asking ourselves, why environmental surveillance? Why am I calling it environmental surveillance? This is because environmental dimensions of AMR has received a less focus than AMR in human and animal health. This means that there's little information within the environmental sphere, and hence now we really need to have this, focus on this surveillance on this sector. And water and soil play a role, and there are major modes for AMR development and spread. We also have resistant microbes. They are in humans, they are in animals, they are in food, and also within the environment. And the natural environment is also an important reservoir for AMR, and also measures must be taken to address this risk. So I'll not belabor very much, but what I wanted to emphasize here is that we need to have a One Health strategy. And this strategy here seeks to look at the action that we can do within the context of One Health. We need to identify the pollutants that speed up this AMR in the environment, and also now environmental action. What's environmental action that is needed? So I'm proceeding now to why we need to strengthen environmental action in the context of AMR. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. I say that we're going to look at I've picked an example of biocides, and when I'm talking biocides here, let us not confuse biocides and pesticides. The reason why I'm using this is actually one of the antibiotics, antimicrobials that we actually use. The challenge, as the name goes, I know it is new to you, the biocides are not regularly monitored, and the amounts of products applied or used mainly remains largely unknown. And of course, the production volumes are considered to be significantly higher than those ones of antibiotic. And now, in this context, we can just assume that huge amounts of biotics are actually disseminated into the environment, and this may actually, induce biological hazards via selective pressure. So this is just an example that I'm using to illustrate why we need to do surveillance. And just quickly pointing out that these biocides are actually used in the healthcare as for disinfection. The common ones that we know, we have heard about hydrogen peroxide, we've heard about glutaldehyde, ethyl, and isopropyl alcohol. In the consumer products, these are actually used in building materials, consumer products. They're also used in furniture. I know this is new to us, but because Kenya basically exports finished products, but these finished products are usually they use this to preserve. And examples here can be triclosan, hexachlorophene. We proceed now. Biocide is also used in food production. We usually see ourselves spraying, tomatoes against fungicides, against, so these are actually used in the food industries to control for the disinfection of production in plants, and also in food, the containers that are actually used. And examples here are chlorine, we have ozone, just to mention a few. In addition, in the animal husbandry, we all know, those ones who have visited these places, we always find they are used in cleaning and disinfection of farm buildings. And before you get into these big farms, you always have foot dips, whereby you dip your foot. So just to continue, in animal husbandry, we clean the teats of our cows using this. You also preserve the eggs. So it's this class of group of chemicals, and also find application in the environment, whereby they're used in water treatment, they're used in wastewater water treatment like chlorine, wastewater treatment like when we are cleaning water before it goes into the effluent. When where we have cooling towers, this is actually where water which is warmed, they're used for preventing a certain species of Legionella, which is thrives well in this water system, between 20 and 50. So just to mention a few, this class of chemicals alone has a lot of. Are you getting me well?
Yes,
Sorry for
go ahead, Dr. Mumbo.
Yeah, sorry for that interruption. So occurrence, there's this, in as much as they've got wide application, and here we just know that this is biocides. We are talking about a class of antimicrobials. Their production is not known, use is really wide, and now we are looking at the resistance, which has actually been noticed since 1950s due to contamination. Of course, that is how, if you misuse it, or if you mix it with other things. And again, you're also looking at improper storage. We're also looking at improper use, just the same way we misuse antimicrobials. So there's evidence of resistance. I'll leave this one for you to leave later. And then now, we now come, what do we need to do? What are the opportunities for use? But now here, I'll look at it from the larger picture,
Dr.
from the
Mumbo?
environmental. Yes.
Dr. Mumbo, sorry. Are you able to put it on slideshow? You see at the bottom of your screen, just go, you can put the cursor down. No, where you are.
Yeah.
Just take the cursor down to the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
There is, you see where you can zoom in and out. The icon on the left, immediately after the negative sign. If you click on that,
where I'm pointing.
I can't see your cursor now. It's gone. Go down.
Yes, I'm down.
No, it's still there. At the bottom of the screen, not on the presentation.
I'm at the bottom of the screen. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you see the icon? Okay, there is an icon that looks like an open book, and then on the right, at the bottom, on the right, then there is another icon over there. Alternatively, you can go to the top and go to slideshow, and I'm being told by somebody on chat that you can press F5. But at the top of the screen, on the taskbar, look at the slideshow at the top of the screen.
Okay.
There is slideshow. That one, okay, click on that. That gives you the slideshow. There you go, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So for the opportunities for the youth, here we are looking at it from holistic point of view, not only the context of the biocides. Yeah, one, we are thinking about environmental surveillance, what needs to come into our mind. Very important, we need to identify and to target priority AMR relevant pollutants. And then of course, we also need to look at how to do education and awareness, just as we are doing in the context of right now in the webinars and social media. There's a issue of financing. Of course, you also need to look at innovation, research, capacity building. And today we are talking about reporting, surveillance, and monitoring. And I'll just talk briefly about environmental governance, planning, and regulatory work. So there's really a whole array of what the youths can do, starting from identifying these pollutants, doing awareness, research, surveillance, and governance. So moving forward, I don't want to take a lot of time. This slide was just basically to show you the pollutants and their sources, the pharmaceutical and other chemical products, agriculture, and the foods, healthcare system. And, with these I call sinks, the poor sanitation, we look at wastewater and also waste effluent in human and animal waste systems. These are just, what we can call hotspots for when you want to start thinking about going for surveillance. I'm not going to talk normally like the way they always present in other presentations, that how do we do the surveillance, but I would rather share with us the perspectives, because we don't have a lot of data. Nothing much has been done within the environmental sector. So when I'm thinking about surveillance, what do I need to think about? You see, like in this case, we need to look at the type, we need to look at the quantity and the dynamics of environmental releases in the environment. For example, if you pick on these biocides, what is the type you're looking at? When you look at what are the quantities, what are the dynamics that govern the releases, what are the biological pollutants, and how that affects AMR development, how that affects transmission, and how that affects spread in the local environment and conditions. We also need to look at also the evolution. We also need to look at potential environmental origins of these antibiotic resistant genes. We always come to meetings, we're always talking about resistant genes, but how do they evolve? Where are their origin? These are the questions that we need to look at when we are answering questions, when we are undertaking surveillance in the context of these environmental fears. This will actually help us to understand and understanding, and also to provide additional factors. Once we understand the origin, we are able to prevent or delay the emergence of these resistant genes. We need to look at identification, characterization of the risks to biodiversity and ecosystem. What are the risks do they pose? And especially when you look at this anthropogenic and microbial resistance, we are looking at the pollutions that we actually cause through waste releases into the environment. And just to go back, since I used this example for the biocides, like the data on the fate and the concentration of biocides in the environment is really sphere. So the question here is that we need to look at how to generate this data. We need to look at how, the fate is what happens to it when it gets to the environment. We need to look at the concentrations. And again, of course, like, for example, in this case, no validated methodologies are available for determination of the dose-response relationship. But what the key take here is about, we need to come up with these methodologies that will actually help us to be able to predict the dose response relationship. So there's really, and of course, there's a lack of information on the production and the use volumes. This one we had in a meeting today, like when you go into application of this, like let's say in fish production, what volumes are we using of hormones in these waters? We need to understand what we are. And of course, there's also need for environmental studies that focus on identification, characterization of resistance and cross-resistance to antibiotic following use and misuse. So I just thought that maybe when you get this slide, slides, you'll be able to read this much better and understand how we can be able to ask ourselves questions before we start engage in surveillance. I'll quickly go through here just to allow for the others to present about when it comes to environmental AMR governance in Kenya. We have the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry, which deals with policy formulation and action planning and budgeting, and the National Environment Management Authority, which actually implements all policies that relates to the environment, besides coordinating and supervision. There are quite a number of applicable AMR laws and regulations. These include environmental impact assessment, environmental audit, water quality, waste management, also air quality regulations. I will not want to go into each of them, but I will just want to talk, especially when you're talking about environmental impact assessment. We license when you do environmental impact assessment, this apply to large-scale agricultural farms, introduction of new pesticides, just to make it a few. So what do we need to do? Develop guidelines to aid in the review of EIA and EIA experts. The same in water quality regulations. We have standards, and we also have some few parameters that can actually be used to guide in undertaking surveillance. There's quite a number of what can be done there. You need to map up the key contamination hotspots and facilities. And then after mapping these, of course, now it aids the subsequent surveillance. Also in waste management, it's just the same issue. It recommends the types of incineration for hazardous waste. Of course, we're looking at how we need to dispose it. And then the action needed, of course, mapping out these key sources of contamination. We also need to develop and disseminate guidelines and procedures and protocols on waste disposal from different sectors. You see, once these facilities are marked, and that's when you do surveillance and you're able to appreciate the problem that you're able to deal with it through surveillance. Otherwise, I would want to stop there, and thank you for allowing me to make the presentation.
Thank you very much, Daktari, for the wonderful presentation. So I also want us to appreciate Daktari. We can clap for him virtually because of the good presentation, and I hope we all take part in safeguarding the environment in matters AMR. So at this time, I'll give Dr. Cynthia 1 second to talk about something. So thank you very much, Dr. John Mumbo.
Thank you very much, Gathai. I can't stop laughing. I'm just Cynthia Gambo. I'm not doctor yet. So for this juncture, we will just want to welcome the country AMR focal person, who is also the Minister of Health AMR focal person, Dr. Tanui. I just saw him he has managed to join. So if he can just give greet people, just 1 second to say hi to the youths and people who have managed to join this webinar. Thank you very much, Dr. Gathai. Welcome, Dr. Tanui. Over to you. Thank you. Dr. Gathai, if Tanui is not yet around, then you can introduce the next speaker. Then maybe he can give his remark after the next speaker. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cynthia. So we can give Dr. Tanui some time later. So allow me to introduce to you Dr. Romona Ndani. So she'll be presenting on the role of animal health in AMR surveillance. So Dr. Romona is an experienced Kenyan veterinarian working in the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, Directorate of Veterinary Services in Kenya since September 1997. So I know many of us were not born. She possesses a Bachelor's of Veterinary Medicine degree and a Master's of Science in Veterinary Science in Poultry Health and Production. Currently, she heads the National Veterinary Reference Laboratories in Kabete and the acting AMR focal point for the agricultural sector. She serves as a member of the National Antimicrobial Stewardship Integrity Committee, this is the NASIC, and the National AMR Secretariat, involved in coordination of the implementation of the AMR National Action Plan. She's also a certified biorisk management certified trainer of the qualifying workforce for AMR surveillance and a member of the National Disaster Risk Management Platform. So welcome, Dr. Ramona Ndani. So I want us to welcome her with the thumbs up emoji, and I want us to send our questions on the chat box kindly. And I hope Dr. Ramona will take the least amount of time so that we can we can have the other presenter and close the webinar. Thank you very much. Welcome, Dr.
Thank you, Dr. Gadai. Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here to make this presentation to you. Okay, I'll try my level best to make it short because I think most of my slides, what I wanted to speak to has already been mentioned by the previous presenters. So I'll talk about briefly the role of animal health in AMR surveillance. Next slide, please. So this is just an introduction to AMR. This has been said. We know antimicrobials play a critical role in saving lives of both livestock and humans. And we use it in various areas, therapeutics, prophylactic, and metaphylaxis. And it's been shown that antimicrobial use in livestock involving 228 countries in 2010 was around more than 63,000 tons, and this is projected to increase. And noting that we are currently globally increasing the life expectancy and the life and our incomes, it is projected that we are going to increase the amount of livestock or amount of food from livestock origin that we will use. And by increasing that, we will intensify our agriculture, and our agriculture being intensified then means there's a possibility of us using more antimicrobials. So resistance, as has been said earlier, is a consequence of selective pressure, which is created from either misuse or overuse of antimicrobials. Next slide, please. The issue of what AMR is, I think this has been presented earlier. So in interest of time, I'll not dwell on this slide, but just to know that this is a natural biological unstoppable phenomenon, and it is accelerated by how we use it, both in humans, in animals, and how then we also present the same to the environment. Next slide, please. Why is it a concern? We have, there's been growing awareness and commitment, and that is why we also have yearly celebrations of the AMR Awareness Week. Actually, we are starting our week in Kenya today, and it will run all the way till the end of next week. The increase is because of untreatable infections, and Dr. Kariuki has presented his case. It is projected that we may have 700,000 people dying of AMR-related infections. By 2050, this may increase to around 10 million, so this is very serious. There is also desperation because we are not getting a lot of antimicrobials being discovered. So we have a dry pipeline generally, basically. And the economic burden has also been posted, as you can see on the slide. That's why we are concerned about AMR. Next slide, please. Yes, remember that bacteria do not have borders, so this is a global problem. Next slide. Thank you. This slide just shows the main contributors of AMR, specifically in animals. The times when we use antimicrobials after surgery, during therapy, during transportation, and many other cases. And there's also unscrupulous use of preserving food using antimicrobials, which also exacerbate the problem of AMR. Next slide. This slide just shows the integrated ecosystem. We cannot work alone when we're trying to combat AMR. Both human health, animal health, the environment, and the other sectors are involved in coming up with the problem of AMR. And therefore, even as we're addressing the problem, then we all have to work in an integrated manner and ensure that we all play our role in addressing AMR. Next slide. So we have talked about what we have been doing as a country. We have our policy, which is available on the Ministry of Health website, our National Action Plan. So we have National Action Plan 1 and National Action Plan 2. The National Action Plan, National Action Plan 1 had, we were addressing AMR using 5 strategic objectives, and they are as shown there. But now we have reviewed, we have NAP2, which has 6 strategic objectives. And I think I'll also refer you to our MOH website, and we'll also be launching the NAP2 next week. So it will be available for all of us to see. Next slide, please. And this has been our journey towards addressing AMR. We started off with the Global Action Plan, which was endorsed by the tripartite then, that is FAO, WHO, and OIE. Then from the Global Action Plan is when member countries were, it was recommended that member countries come up with their own national action plan and policies. We did that in 2017. And now we've moved on to NAP2, which is will be running from 2023 to 2027. And from the NAP that we have nationally, we also have now action plans action plans that are developed at the county level for the counties now to implement activities addressing AMR. Next slide. So basically, this also just shows the journey of how we came up, how we started addressing AMR way back in 2011 and where we are currently in 2023 with our NAP2 and our national policy, as well as the several CASIC action plans. Currently, we have 14 active CASICs that are addressing AMR. Next slide. So now, dwelling on surveillance, what is surveillance? Surveillance is basically currently is our objective number 3. Initially, it was objective number 2. We need to carry out AMR surveillance for us to be able to gain data. And this data is what will show the burden or the evidence of where we are with regards to AMR. Do we have the bugs that have resistant genes? Which kind of resistant genes do we have? Where are they? Are they in animals? Are they in the environment? Or are they in humans? And what is it that they are resistant to? Which antimicrobial are they resistant to? And then what then can we do with this data? Then this is what we can use to make recommendations and make decisions of how we can tackle AMR. So surveillance is a very important aspect of us addressing AMR. We have both surveillance activity at the national government and county government, which we use to develop and implement an integrated AMR surveillance. For us in Kenya, the way we have integrated our surveillance is that we have selected surveillance sites, and these surveillance sites, we have the animal health surveillance sites, which correlates to the human health surveillance sites, so that whatever data we get from either of the 2 sectors, because that's where we started from, then we can correlate the kind of information we are getting and figure out then what our AMR data is telling us. We have considered the priorities. The priorities is the organisms we are using. Currently, our indicator organisms are E. coli, Staphylococcus aureus, and Salmonella for both animal health and human health. But we have other priorities in human health, which I would also refer us to read our surveillance report, which we are going to launch next year, which will give a detailed, which is detailed in how we are actually carrying out our surveillance and the data that we have gathered so far. Next slide, please. So just to show you what we have been doing, then I'll concentrate on surveillance. On awareness, this is some of the things we have been doing over time. We have a communication strategy. We have developed a number of IC materials, and I think you will see some of this coming up starting next week. Next slide, please. So under surveillance for us in animal health, basically we started off with the poultry sector because from data that we had, it has shown that most of the antibiotics that we use in Kenya is in the poultry sector. So that was our priority value chain. We started off in 2019 with a pilot site in Kiambu, where we visited 34 farms, 1 slaughterhouse, and 1 hatchery. We collected samples, and these samples were analyzed in the lab. Unfortunately, today I won't give you the results here, but again, we will see the results in our combined surveillance report. Then come 2022, we were supported by Fleming Fund, and we also worked on the poultry value chain, where we collected 500 samples from poultry farms from 15 different counties. At the same time, we also collected data on antimicrobial use from the same farmers. So we have this data and it's in our report. Next slide. So like I said earlier, for our surveillance to work, after when we have decided on which sample we want to collect, we also need to come up with our reference centers, our reference laboratories. So we set out our reference centers as the National Veterinary Reference Laboratories situated in Kabete, previously known as CVL, for most of you who know the previous name. That is specifically for animal health. And then for human health, we have the National Public Health Laboratory. Now, these are our reference labs. Then we select now surveillance sites. So currently, sorry, this is not updated. The human health surveillance sites, we have 14 sites. Sorry, we have 18 sites and 6 sites in the animal health network. So these are the sites that actually handle the samples that we collect to generate data. Next slide. So basically, this just shows where the sites are in human health and the animal health. And as you can see, let me see if I can use my cursor. These are the farms where samples were collected, and the yellow spots show where the surveillance sites are. And you can see we have we are generally working along the railway line, so to speak. And we need to expand more to cover these other areas of the country. Same to the human health sites, as you can see, though we have a few sites in the northeastern, where we collect AMR data. Next slide. So basically, this is a illustration of how we collect our samples and then analyze them in the laboratories, and then how then we share the data to our veterinary epidemiology and economics section. And then this data is shared to the National Public Health Laboratories, where we have the central data warehouse, which we have agreed is where all AMR data will be shared to. From there, then the data will be analyzed, and then this can be shared for decision making. Next. Yeah, basically this just shows how then we analyze the data. We use LIMS system. For the animal health, we have the CLAB Laboratory Information Management System, supported by FAO, where we enter our data, analyze our data, and then share to the central data warehouse. For our counterparts in human health, we have, I think, 2 or 3 LIMS system. One of them is Labware, where data is entered, shared to analyzed, cleaned and analyzed, and then shared to the data warehouse. From the data warehouse, this data then is incorporated into our dashboard. We have a dashboard then which can, at the click of a button, just when you click, you can see the kind of data that comes out. Next, please.
I hope you are waiting up, Daktari.
Yes, I am. So those are just photos showing what we've been doing towards surveillance in animal health. A lot of training, a lot of capacity building, yeah, state-of-the-art equipment that we use for automated culture and AST tests. Next. Next. So just to wind up, laboratory quality assurance is important because we have to ensure that the data that we communicate is quality data. So all the surveillance sites undergo external quality assurance. Next. Yeah, antimicrobial use, this is the kind of data that has come out. So I'll not go into details of that, just to show you what the kind of work we are doing. This is in the poultry sector. Next, please. Yeah, still some work that has been done on the food now. That was previous work done by Professor Kariuki, looking at microbial contamination and AMR in the meat value chain in Kenya, where it was shown that we have E. coli, Salmonella, and Campylobacter species that was isolated from meat. That tells you a lot of the kind of work we need to do in AMR surveillance. Next, please. So we have a number of challenges that we are facing, and these are some of the things we are trying to address in our new NAP. But I'll just quickly go through the lessons learned that from doing all this work, it has been shown, we have learned that it is good to have data, quality data, and the way we package it is important. We need political support because most of the sites that we work with have some political inclination, the hospitals, the laboratories, the counties, and where surveillance is carried out, then we need a lot of political support. We need to be able to define our AMR data. We need multi-sectoral approach, and I think I need to point out here that in multi-sectoral approach, we also need to involve the youth as much as possible. I would like to maybe interest most of the youth that are here today to join us and pick out the AMR surveillance sector and come and work with us, so that we are able to come up, define AMR burden and work towards addressing AMR. Resources are very crucial, workforce and funds. And workforce currently, I think you've had most of the public workforce is an aging workforce. So we look forward to actually having most of the youth coming in to join us so that we can work together towards addressing AMR. Thank you very much. I think this is my last slide. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much, Dr. Romona, for reminding us that we need what we need to know, that we need to know where we come from as a country as we plan our trajectory. This seems like situational analysis for Kenya. So thank you very much. At this point, I want us, don't forget to use Dr. Sam's favorite emoji to thank Dr. Romona. So I want to welcome Dr. Tanui for just a minute. He is the country AMR focal point and the focal point for MOH. Just take 1 minute, please, Dr.
All right. Thank you very much. I hope you're able to hear me.
Loud and clear. All
right. Thank you very much. As you've heard, my name is Dr. Emmanuel Tanui from the Ministry of Health. I'm the AMR focal point coordinating AMR activities in the animal health sector. So I'm happy to join you today during this national AMR youth webinar. And I think it's a very opportune moment for us to be able to talk and disseminate some information regarding AMR mitigation and what we have been doing at the national level. And I think it's important so that the youth can be able to see the important role that they can play in the AMR space. I think it's we all have a role to play in terms of raising awareness, and really youth are some of the biggest advocates in terms of passing information, especially in the social media space. Most of us are not very tech savvy. However, the youth have more advantage in being able to utilize the social media tools more appropriately, and also community events. So we have an important role in trying to disseminate this information. I believe that the information that we are getting from these presentations, we can actually act as a source of more accurate information, more of like TOTs in the communities, and also to our peers. I think we also have a role in the way in which we can reduce some of the risks that can actually exacerbate the use of either the use of antibiotics or inappropriate use. I think once we are better informed and more at par with what is happening and how the roles that we can play, then we can be able to reduce the incidences. Otherwise, thank you so much for the for making time to attend this webinar. We are hoping that we are going to partner even going forward. Looking forward to meeting a number of you during our national launch and even the symposium, when we can be able to award some of the youth who would have won some of these competitions that helping us to raise awareness towards AMR. Otherwise, thank you very much. I will not take much time, and wishing you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Panoi. Thank you for what you've told us, and we're looking forward to meeting you next year. So at this point, I want us to welcome Dr. Nkada Gitonga to share with us an overview of AMR, antimicrobial stewardship in human health. So a short profile on her. Dr. Nkada is a healthcare professional in the public health field, specializing in health system strengthening and service development. She is a clinical pharmacist by profession with experience working within the public health sector and in clinical practice. She is currently working as a senior technical advisor to the USAID-funded Medicines, Technologies, and Pharmaceutical Services, the MTAP program, managed by Management Science for Health. She provides technical advisory and project management to the global health security agenda on antimicrobial resistance in Kenya, working at national, county, and healthcare facility level. So welcome, Dr. Nkada. I hope you'll take the least amount of time, and may we welcome her with the thumbs up emoji. Thank you. And share your question also.
Okay. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Proceed, Dr.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure if the screen is showing.
It's showing. You can see it.
Okay.
I'm projecting for you, Dr. Gitonga. Would you wish to project for yourself? I can stop sharing.
Probably yes, because I can't really see it.
Okay. Go ahead. You can share your screen.
Okay. Sorry. All right, so you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see it, Dr.
All right,
You can have it
so
on slideshow. Have it on slideshow.
I believe it is. Is it not?
Yes, it is. It is. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So thanks for the introduction. I won't take a lot of time because as the last presenter, I always not given the most time, but I'll just be giving a presentation on just overview around antimicrobial stewardship. This is just to be able to give the youth some maybe key messages that they can send out there, also coming up to the World Antimicrobial Resistance Awareness Week. So the objectives of this presentation is just to give an overview of the programs. I work with USAID MTABs, which is the Medicines, Technologies, and Pharmaceutical Program. I won't define AMR, it's been defined many times, but I will define antimicrobial stewardship and discuss as antimicrobial stewards what we'll be doing as stewards in this call to ensure that we safeguard the effectiveness of our antimicrobials going forward. just a call to action for us. So as I've said, the MTAPS program, the main goal is to enable the lower middle income countries to strengthen their pharmaceutical systems and ensure sustainable access to and appropriate use of safe, effective, quality assured and affordable essential medicines and medicines related pharmaceutical services. So that encompasses antimicrobials as well. So we work on 3 major areas, which is multi-sectoral coordination on AMR, which has been touched on. So it's the One Health approach for containment of AMR. We work at both national and county level in 4 counties, and you can see on the right, the 4 counties, Kisumu, Nyeri, Murang'a, and Kilifi. We also support infection prevention and control strategies, so governance structures, and also the capacity building exercises, and the same for antimicrobial stewardship. Next slide. Oh, sorry. So overview of antimicrobial resistance. So how it happens, we've talked about this, but basically your resistant bugs, when they stop, being effective to antimicrobials, then they're allowed to grow and they eventually take over, and some of the bacteria give drug resistance to other bacteria, causing more of a problem. So that's just something I wanted to add on there. So just to set the picture, antibiotics were a miracle drug, but they became a victim of their own success. So for those who know, antibiotics were discovered by Alexander Fleming in a study. So from the time that he discovered this in his petri dishes, they really gained popularity during the Second World War, because prior to that, we had soldiers dying from infections that were untreated because there was no antimicrobials or antibiotics. And then later on, as history has it, they began to be used in Boston farms for growth promotion. And then we look at the 1930s to the 1960s, we had the pharmaceutical golden era. So this is when really modern medicine was really spearheaded, and we really saw the use of antimicrobials all the way down to clinics. And now we may actually say we're in a post-antibiotic era, which we're trying to contain, and the efforts are to really encourage the development of new antimicrobials to be able to treat these multi-drug resistant microbes. So actually Alexander Fleming predicted antimicrobial resistance, and there's a quote here that he says, "The thoughtless person playing with penicillin treatment is morally responsible for the death of the man who succumbs to the infection with the penicillin-resistant organism." So this is a call to us to ensure that we're using antimicrobials responsibly. They are miracle drugs, however, the overuse and misuse of them can actually lead to death. So just briefly around the evolution of antimicrobial resistance. So since the 1940s, the timeline between when an antimicrobial or an antibiotic is developed to the time it actually develops resistance has really shortened at an alarming rate. So on the right, you can see, and I know this slides will be shared. If you see on the right is on the left is when the antibiotic was introduced, and on the right is when the first identification of resistance was identified. So you can see those lines are getting shorter and shorter. So we know that this could be a consequence of overusing antimicrobials across all sectors, that they are able to actually beat the mechanisms of to develop resistance. So AMR is a major global public health threat. And if you see this graph, you can see that it now accounting for about 1.2 deaths attributable to AMR. And if you combine malaria and HIV, then we're at par. And these AMR, if we look at AMR as a program in most countries, even in low middle income countries, it's not really recognized as a program and as itself in terms of the funding streams and how it's handled in countries, whereas HIV, malaria, and TB have been for a long time. So it's just a call again and some evidence to show that this is a real concern. It's not silent anymore. It's very loud, actually. And I heard someone say it's actually an ignored pandemic rather than being a silent pandemic. So understanding terminology, I know we've all done that, but I'll just quickly go through stewardship. So stewardship is really supervising or taking care of something. So antimicrobial stewardship then relates to supervising the use of antimicrobials by ensuring we use the right antimicrobial for the right patient at the right time and right dose for the right duration. And I would like to add there that diagnostic stewardship is part of that. So using the right tests to be able to treat the patient appropriately. So factors that contribute to AMR, use of antibiotics when they are not needed, so where there's no infection present. Sometimes there are errors that are associated with the use of antimicrobials, which include maybe not using the right combination, so the antibiotic not linked to the causative microbe, or using an inappropriate dose, maybe suboptimal or overdosing, and also the inappropriate duration that is needed to actually kill the microbe is not prescribed appropriately. Not completing treatment is another factor. Overuse in livestock and fish farming, lack of hygiene and poor sanitation, poor infection control in hospitals and clinics, and the lack of new antibiotics being developed, as we have had. So if we allow AMR to continue, and we've had this story, very compelling story earlier today, it will lead to simple infections which are currently easy to treat will become more difficult or even impossible to treat. Infections which were once eradicated may reemerge, and superbugs will continue to develop and increase. So, and actually the main point of this is that modern medicine will be threatened. So what does this mean? Before antibiotics, 1 out of 9 people who got a skin infection died from things as simple as a scrape or an insect bite. 3 out of 10 people who contracted pneumonia died. Ear infections caused deafness. Sore throats were followed by heart failure. So these are some of the things that we may see if we don't safeguard our antimicrobials. Imagine a world where a dog bite or a simple scrape from your leg from a barbed wire might kill you because there's nothing to treat the dirty wound. Imagine a world where we are unable to help immunocompromised patients who acquire an infection, such as those on chemotherapy, Burns patients, and transplant patients, because we know that we use prophylactic antibiotics before an surgery. So how many surgeons will be willing to do surgeries, even transplants, if there are no antimicrobials to protect the patient? So as an antimicrobial steward, you should know that antibiotics are not always the right answer. Antibiotics are for bacterial infections and not viral infections, and will not alleviate viral symptoms. Some infections might improve. Might improve without antibiotics. And when prescribed antibiotics, be sure to understand how to use them properly. This will ensure the medicine has the best opportunity to cure the infection. So these are some of the messages we want to put out there. We know antibiotics are used very commonly for colds and flus, which are majority caused by viral infections. So we want to implore you to spread the word, and antimicrobials should be taken only when they're prescribed and with proper medical oversight. For the full, complete prescribed course by only the person it has been prescribed for. And we had this earlier on not sharing antibiotics or medicines in general where they have not been prescribed. So also, they should be taken only from a licensed medical practitioner, so a doctor or nurse, or dispensed from a licensed pharmacy with an authorized prescription. So again, we know that they are illegal practitioners out there, so we need to, as the public, as the youth, really employ even our families to go to licensed health centers. So this is my final slide. So to be an antimicrobial steward, we also need to spread the word around being able to resist resistance and save lives by, 1, not self-medicating and seek medical attention where you may feel that there is an infection. Also not taking leftover antimicrobials when ill and not sharing antimicrobials with others. And I'll just be able to please allow me to play a 40-second video, but the disposal of antimicrobials is very important. We've had the impacts of this in environment, but also in animal health, crop health, that we are, we're seeing residues of this even in our water sources. So unused medicines should be returned to pharmacies for safe disposal. So I think you'll allow me to just quickly, and you'll let me know if you can see the screen. Sorry. Well, I don't know if I'm able to. Sorry, I may not be able to play the video. Are you still able to see my screen?
We are still seeing your PPTs. Is it the one that has, I think...
Can you see it now?
Not yet.
Okay, let me try one more. Can you see it now?
Yes, you can see it now.
Okay,
Yes.
I can start from the beginning. All right. So thank you for your attention. Over to you, Sam. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nkada. Thank you for the wonderful presentation, and thank you for reminding us that we should be antimicrobial stewards. And I hope that everyone today will go home with a message that they need to be antimicrobial stewards and spread the word, because you can remember that this year's theme is for antimicrobial resistance is preventing AMR together. So I hope everyone will spread the word to everyone so that we can stop it together. We can prevent it together. So right now I want us to do the virtual clap for Dr. Nkada so that we can proceed to question and answer because we are out of time already. Allow me to read some questions we have here before we go to ask more, for more questions. Someone here asked, are resistant genes transferable between bacteria and parasites? And they also went ahead to ask whether a bacteria can transfer resistant genes to a parasite. So let's have some answers on this. Over to you, Dr. Sam. You can help us with knowing who will answer the question.
Wonderful, Dr. Gadai. I think I saw that question, and I just want to appreciate Dr. Kariuki, because I think Dr. Kariuki went ahead and answered it. So I don't know that Dr. Kariuki, if Dr. Kariuki is still there. I'm trying to trace that because I saw his response, I saw the question, and I saw Dr. Kariuki's response to that. Dr. Kariuki, are you there? All right. I think Dr. Kariuki is not there. But I think the answer was given in the chat. The answer was given in the chat, but we want to also call on Dr. Romona. Would you wish to weigh in? Or Dr. Gitonga? Are our presenters still there? Am I on mute? I could be talking to myself.
It's maybe if you can read through the answer that Dr. Karaoke
Okay.
gave in the chat, yeah, 7
Okay,
times.
great. So Dr. Karaoke responded to the question. Let me see. Resistant genes are transmissible between microbes through plasmids, short strands of chromosomes via the conjugation mechanisms. So that was the response that was given to that question. The follow-up question to that was what? Let me see. So there's a question again that was asked. So bacteria can transfer the gene to a parasite. And again, that conversation continued in the chat. And we want to appreciate Dr. Karaoke for just, engaging as one of the panelists and presenters to respond to the questions. And he did indicate bacteria and parasites can conjugate and exchange genetic material to confer various traits. So that was responded to. Back to you, Dr. Gadai.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sam. So I want to give just 2 people. You can raise your hand and I'll give you a chance to ask a question. 2 people, very fast. We can have just 2 questions. Raise your hand. I can't see any hand. So I think we don't have any question. I can't see any hand. I'll leave you with a question. I want you, maybe you can answer later or when we meet on Monday, Tuesday. So I have this question. As I was in a chemist, I was treating my patient and I was reading through some literature on some drugs, and this was a probiotic, and it was written a multi-drug resistant bacteria. So it is used to counter the effect of overuse of antibiotics. And I was like, so if this is multi-drug resistant bacteria, can it pass the resistant genes to other bacteria in my body? Yeah, so you can think around that. We can meet and discuss about that later. Thank you very much. So at this point, I don't think I have much. I just want to thank our presenters, but I'll leave this to Ndege Ngere, so that he can thank our presenters and close the webinar. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Gadai, for the wonderful moderation that you've done today. To all our presenters, we are so grateful for your participation in this webinar. We know we had a little time to prepare for this webinar, and we did keep up to the toes. Thank you very much to our presenters, and thank you very much for all that have joined to this call today. I wish to state the activities that we have planned and we have done as a youth committee this year. On behalf of the chair, Julian, from React Africa, she has been our chair for the committee. We had planned for 4 activities, which we have already done 2 of them. One of them was a photo essay and short video competition, which was done last week, 2 weeks ago. Results were announced today for those who are going to be part of the awards. They are going to come to Nairobi to get the awards on Monday. The next one was the National Youth Webinar, which is this activity that we have had today. We have had a good number of participation, over 100 participants joining in and leaving at some point. We also have art, video, social media contest, which it's starting tomorrow. We have a poster. You register for the activity, then you'll get more information on the link provided there. Then we also have community engagement for AMR, which is going to run from tomorrow until 24th of November. For the community engagement, we encourage youth to take up initiative of doing community awareness in their local community, take photos, then you write a report and you share with us, then we'll give you a certificate of recognition. For the art video, there's an award for the winners. We will have award for the winners, and also for the photo essay, we'll have award for the winners. For all those who have participated for all these 4 activities, you'll have a certificate of participation. We'll also share the presentation slides for today. Sorry for the hiccups that have occurred at one point in presentations, and I think thank you all for joining in again, and I wish you all the best. At this juncture, I'll invite Sam to close for us the webinar. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ndege. Allow me to just request that we give a round of applause to all the presenters. We give a round of applause to the moderators and to the team that was planning this, including the AFROHUN Kenya Student One Health Innovation Club presidents and the One Health Club members. We give them a round of applause. We want to give a round of applause and appreciation to the national team for affording this opportunity, represented, of course, by Dr. Emmanuel Tanui, and we also had the other focal AMR, the AMR, Dr. Romona, and we also had Dr. Mumbo coming in. We also want to appreciate Dr. Gitonga coming in and making the presentations. We want to appreciate you, each and every one of us in this particular webinar. We want to not take it for granted. We do not want to take it for granted that you made time to join this webinar from 4 p.m. till now. And at this point in time, allow us to also apologize for going 15 minutes, actually 16 minutes now, 16 minutes beyond time. We do not take it for granted that you're still here, quite a substantial number from the start till now, from within Kenya and beyond. We want to appreciate you for deeming it fit to join this webinar. Kindly take home the messages that have been shared. We had an AMR survivor giving us a lived experience. Please take heed of some of the things that he shared. We got opportunities shared by Nahashon on how the youth can engage, in AMR advocacy activities, and the upcoming, I think, webinar tomorrow, where Prime Minister Mia Motley will be making a presentation as well, or speaking. So kindly remember that. We want to appreciate our speakers from the environment domain, from the animal health domain, and the human health domain. We want to appreciate the team that was working on this, the youth event subcommittee, of course, supporting the student presidents. I don't know whether the youth event subcommittee are here. I don't know whether, is there anyone who didn't speak from the youth event subcommittee? We had Cynthia.
Yeah, we have Dr. Marianne Otieno from BD, Dr. Yamo. Yeah, they can introduce themselves. Please, the members can introduce themselves. We know who are working behind the scene. Thank you.
The team that was working behind the scenes. All right, Dr. Yamo, are you there? You can say hi. All right, Dr. Yamo is not there.
Hi.
Wonderful. My brother. Thank you. You can.
I just want to take this opportunity to thank the youth for turning out. It makes us feel honored because as we work, we normally wonder whether we are planning these things in isolation, but it's good to see a great multitude of people turning up. I hope that they've learned one or two things. They've got some take-home messages. There's opportunities to engage with the other activities that are coming up from Monday. So sensitize your neighbors, your friends, your colleagues, your classmates, and let's have more of us getting engaged with the process. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day, the weekend, and back to you, Sam.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Amo. Cynthia, who else is in the
Marian Otieno.
Dr. Marian, you can come off mic and say hi. All right, Marian is not in the meeting.
Nixon Motari.
Nixon, yes. Nick.
Oh, hi guys.
Wonderful.
My name is Nixon Motari. I'm a pharmacist. One thing I like to say about AMR is that AMR is not a disease. It's not like cancer, because it's not every other thing. When people go to TV, they say, "I was infected with this." It's not a disease, but what it does is actually something that makes the disease worse. So you can picture in a world whereby someone who's on cancer, he's on chemotherapy, the regimens, the immune system has gone down, and then that's now where AMR now, for example, kicks in, whereby the immune system is weak and it takes advantage and it puts people down. So I think it's good we are creating advocacy, and I think it's good for us to keep up the good work. And one thing I'd like to say, for example, I don't know, but we have had one of the survivors speak. I don't know if we can actually create a forum for more survivors to actually get. That will be actually something very, very serious. Yeah, thank you. Only that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nixon. A forum for survivors to come in and speak and create even bigger noise and bigger traction on the AMR issue. Thank you, Nick, for that. Cynthia, who else is there?
Yeah, I think that's all. And me, Cynthia Odhiambo. I currently work with USAID MTAPS program as a technical advisor, M&E, supporting AMR and IKC project. And currently, I also support I'm part of the youth subcommittee that have been working through to plan these activities. I'm so happy to have you people here. Thank you, and over.
Wonderful. And finally, we also want to appreciate React Africa. I think there's Dr. Tracy who opened up for us, and we also have Julian, who was not able to be with us, but React Africa has been offering phenomenal support. So with that, allow me then to wish us all a good evening. I want to draw attention to the upcoming activities next week. Kindly let's keep plugged in to the AMR advocacy. And with that, I wish you a good evening and a great weekend ahead. And we look forward to seeing you in the upcoming events from tomorrow and next week. Asanteni sana, and over and out. Bye. We will share the presentations and we will share the recordings through the emails that we registered with. So thank you so much, and we wish you all a good evening and a great weekend ahead. Thank you. Lakini tungepiga kapicha. Are we able to get our can we able to come off camera and get some pictures for those who have not yet gone? All right, great. Let's take some quick
Definitely.
Yeah, let's take some quick, what are they called? Photos. Okay, I'm taking screen 1. I'm going to screen number 2.
Sam, you are in the darkness.
I'm in the darkness.
Hi, Dr. Oscar.
Yes.
Wacha nipige picha tena. Ni kama simita hapa imekataa. Wacha nipige picha tena. Are we able to come off camera and get some nice photos? I think I apologize for not having, for those who will be missing out. We will Photoshop them in. Dr. Gadai is good in doing that. So I'll take, let me do that. So screen number 1 is taken. Let me take screen number 2. Wonderful. Great. Tuko na picha ya webinar. Wishing you guys a good weekend. Asanteni sana.
Thank you too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.